All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the WorkSmart Tools of the Trade workshop. My name is Danielle Stobie, and I'm the Arts Education Manager with ArtsFairfax. And I will be moderating today's workshop. This is the fourth and final in the series of WorkSmart workshops that focus on marketing. In case you missed the first three, resources will be available on our website. We will have time at the end of the presentation for questions. At that time, if you would like to ask a question, please use the raise your hand feature and I will unmute each person to be able to ask your question. If you do not wish to speak, you can also type questions in the chat box with the name of your organization, where I will monitor and ask them for you. If you are having technical difficulties, you can email our Information and Technology Manager, Karan, at kbansal@artsfairfax.org with your phone number. And I'll also be providing that email address in the chat. I would like to start by thanking both of our speakers, Stan and Rochelle Robinson, for presenting today. Substantial Art and Music is an organization focused on providing consulting services to the art and music community. SAM was founded in 2017 by husband and wife duo Stan and Rochelle Robinson. Together, they provide design and consulting services to emerging and established artists. Additionally, they provide art and music programming and advocacy. So Stan and Rochelle, if you guys want to take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Danielle.
Thanks for having us.
And welcome and good afternoon, everyone. We appreciate you taking the time out to join us this afternoon. Before we get started, we had addressed our network with the following statement, and we would like to take this time to share it with you as well. As a Black-owned business, the recent protests happening across our nation as a result of the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery are not lost on us. From the time the first enslaved Africans were brought to this country over 400 years ago to just last week, a couple weeks ago rather, when Amy Cooper's racist and unjustified call to the police on Chris Cooper, Black men, women, and children are subject to systemic oppression. As citizens, it is our right to stand in opposition to all who wish to oppress Blacks and all marginalized groups, whether it's through peaceful, nonviolent protests, boycotts, or any other step that have become necessary to topple our oppressors. Our basic human rights will not be delayed any longer. As citizens, it is our right to vote in our local, state, and general elections to ensure our government truly represents and serves its people, and it's our duty to condemn those who do not. So thank you for letting us, allowing us that moment. We are Substantial Art and Music. As Danielle had mentioned, we are a consulting agency. We provide services to the arts community. We provide a plethora of services, which we'll go into detail at the end of this presentation. A little bit about us. Stan and I are a husband-wife duo, as we mentioned before. We both attended Pratt Institute. That's where we met. I obtained a BFA rather in fashion design, but my experience spans both in publication, media, nonprofit, as well as private sector, education, and most recently, I am the former arts grants manager with ArtsFairfax. And so I'm very humbled and happy to be back. As residents, as a person who was was raised here, it's an honor to be able to serve my community. Stan?
Yes, and I've been working in the music industry for over 20 years, and also working in education simultaneously. And so have a lot of experience as an independent recording artist, as an international recording artist. And I'm also a member of the local DC Grammy chapter, amongst other hats that I wear. So, these different experiences ultimately led to us consulting, starting, of course, with our network, and eventually clients around the world. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started.
Okay, today's
All right.
agenda, just so that everyone's aware, all that we'll be covering, we have social media marketing and analytics. We'll be going over passive income and monetization, and then what we like to call the balancing act, balancing social media versus your social life. After that, we'll take questions, as well as provide you with additional resources and our available services. Today, we will be utilizing the hashtag tools of the trade. So for those of you who are on social media right now, we encourage you to have your phone handy. Of course, have it on vibrate, but have it handy as we will be referencing and walking you through some steps. And if you would like to follow us, we are on social media at Sub Art and Music. Okay. Our objective.
Sorry, Rochelle and Stan, your screen is actually black right now. So it could be maybe start your video. It could be maybe that's why
Gotcha.
we're able to see the screen.
Got you.
No
All
worries.
right. Thank you.
Hold on 1 second. Let's fix that. Our apologies. All right.
Here we are.
And let's share screen one more time. All right. Is that better?
Yes, perfect.
Right.
Right.
And those of you that are following along with us, we have provided you with a link to this presentation so that you have access to it. And if you could go to the next objective, please.
Sure.
Okay, so today's objective, we will be to provide the community with tools in social media marketing and analytics, passive income and monetization, and finding balance.
Okay.
All right, social media marketing.
Before we get started, though.
Oh, okay. We do have a poll. Thank you. We do have a poll because we want to take roll and find out who is in the space with us. So 2 things. One, if you're just joining us, please enter your name and where you're from in the chat feature. And for the poll, if you can just enter your arts discipline, whether it's visual arts, performing arts, literary arts, or new media, just so that we can gauge who's in the space with us.
Awesome watching the results come in. All right. We have a lot of performing artists.
Okay, great.
Awesome. A large amount of visual artists as well, with a few literary artists and new media. Awesome. All right. So we're going to get ready to get started. And we will start with social media. Thank you all so much for participating in that poll. So let's go ahead and jump into it, shall we? All right. So first things first, when we talk about social media, of course, people tend to know the most popular networks. And then there are networks that exist online that weren't necessarily created with the hope of becoming a social media platform, but have largely been used as just that. So here is a list of websites that are social media platforms, and a few that are just various platforms that people utilize, like social media. So, of course, we see Facebook, we see Instagram, LinkedIn, and sites like TikTok and Twitter. But there are sites that are very much utilized like social media, such as Bandcamp, which, if there are, amongst our performing artists, if there are any musicians who utilize that, today is actually Bandcamp Friday, where because of the pandemic, they are allowing people to keep 100% of their sales today instead of taking their usual cut. So, you know, a large amount of these sites can be utilized just like social media, even when it's not a social media platform, to promote your brand. And it depends on what type of thing you are marketing. All right. So next we will jump into, all right, who, what, when, where, and why. And so we're just going to go through each of these to just give you a little bit of information. We never assume that everyone knows everything, because no one does. So we will jump into a little bit of information that you may be familiar with and things that you maybe didn't know. All right. So who should post? Anyone who has a product or service to sell or promote. or maybe you're assisting others do exactly that, you should absolutely be on social media. Part of the allure of social media like Twitter and Instagram is the interaction that you have with your customer base. Sometimes that can be a bit challenging, obviously, for some people who aren't very social, but it's definitely, these are opportunities for you to connect with the different people in your network and get a better understand of who your customer base is. So getting an idea of what type of products they're buying and why, or what type of events they're attending and why. What are they doing on weekends? I know it sounds a bit creepy, but just getting the idea, because it is called social media. So getting an idea of what type of social life they have and how your brand, or how what it is you have to offer, what role it plays in that. What kind of posts do they love to share, and from what websites or what other influencers, right? So first things first, or I should say second things second, we're going to jump into another poll. We want to get an idea of whether or not you consider yourself a novice or experienced person on social media, or if you're somewhere in between. So we can go ahead and throw that poll up. Yeah. Yeah, it's a great mix. All right. So so we have a lot of folks who are in somewhere in between. That's about just over half of the folks who are participating, with a few veterans in there and a few novices as well. So that's great. That's great. All right. So I am someone who I didn't necessarily go to school or take classes in becoming great at social media. It just became a necessity for me as an independent artist. And so over the years in my travels and through various experiences, I was able to monetize it, and that's what led to me consulting others. So in front of you right now, when we talk about what you should post, first things first, there are things that you're going to want to post because of the type of business that you have, or the type of organization that you run. But what you also need to consider is, what is your relationship with your audience? So if you are someone like us, where we've built a lot of relationships over the years, and because we're not just a business, we're also we're a business partnership, but we're an actual partnership as well. So there are plenty of people who are rooting for our business who know us on a personal level. So that means that them actually seeing us, and not just sharing flyers and not just sharing resources or things like that, but them actually seeing us gets them excited about our business. So that's something that and I'm gonna throw Rochelle under the bus a little bit. She is not necessarily as eager as I am to put pictures of herself or the family and things of that nature, rightfully so, considering the world we live in. However, if and we'll jump into analytics later, you have to understand what it is your audience is responding most to. So if we notice that occasionally, if every now and then we're posting a photo of ourselves, and that photo is performing 2 to 3 times better than anything we post, then we need to find ways to, occasionally, at least once a week, make sure we're including ourselves in these posts just to keep the activity on our site high. On the other hand, there are other things that we participate in. Of course, the work that we've done with children in the past that gets folks very excited. So these are 3 examples of different things. And in general, examples are photos. Of course, people share photos on sites like Instagram. However, on sites like Twitter, tweets that typically have photos or video content usually create more engagement. Quotes also, even though text in general typically doesn't perform as well on sites like Instagram, quotes, inspirational quotes, or quotes that people, live their lives by, etc., sometimes perform very well depending on what type of themes you've created around your page. Obviously, any good press for your business is helpful. Reviews, interviews, things of that nature. Anything also pertaining to your industry, right? Useful information, because a lot of times when you have a certain theme going on with your Instagram or whatever your account is, different things that are happening in your industry that you're sharing out to your network performs well at, in some cases also because you're likely being followed by other people who work in that industry. Okay, so we're going to jump into the next slide. All right, so this is taken from the good folks over at sproutsocial.com. It's a great site to check out. They have a lot of resources for various businesses and organizations that you could utilize to help you with social media. And so basically, these are examples of what it looks like for global engagement on the top 3 platforms, which is Facebook, Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, and Twitter. All right. And so what it shows is best days / times to post on Facebook, Wednesday at 11 a.m. and through 1 p.m. Understand something. These are just general numbers, right? All of this information is just general information based on data that has been collected. It does not necessarily mean that your audience is active during that time. And that's when we're going to jump into analytics later. But it's just something to keep in mind as well, something to weigh your options, all right? It also says that best days / times to post on Instagram, Wednesday, and Fridays, right? So something to consider. Hashtags sometimes play a major role in activity on particular sites. And so a popular hashtag for Wednesday is Women Crush Wednesdays, right? So, and there's a long list of other ones, but that's typically one of the most popular hashtags. Now, does that necessarily mean that your business needs to post your actual personal crush on your website or your social media? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if there's a woman in your industry or who works in your company and they do an amazing job there, Wednesday is a great day to celebrate them. You should celebrate them every day, but Wednesday in general, it will perform really well if you use the hashtag. Okay, so just something to remember. Basic things like that will definitely help you get a bit more traction. Best times to post on Twitter, typically, Wednesday between 9 a.m. or Fridays around 9 a.m. But also keeping in mind that certain sites are very active during people's lunch periods and also active during people's commutes. Now, understand a lot of this information is before the pandemic. So those things are kind of go out the window to a certain extent. All right. And yeah, go ahead, jump in.
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
Okay. All right. But yeah, so anyway, I'm going to keep it moving because I really want to get to analytics because that is far more important. But before we get there, these are just various sites that you can post on. It's important to know that, of course, the top 3, the big 3 are Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. However, depending on what type of business you have, there are other sites and other options for you. If you have, if your organization has a younger audience, then I highly recommend that you get on TikTok. Also understand that if you yourself are not very familiar with certain platforms, I also advise you to either hire an intern or hire someone who can focus on that particular thing, that particular platform, because it is extremely time consuming. And it's sometimes difficult to balance with the actual work you have outside of promoting via social media. But if you are on different platforms, if you know that some of your audience exists in the gamer community, then you might want to look into sites like Discord, which allows you to run like a message board of sorts to share certain information, and some of your audience may be there. If you are appealing to an older audience, people with a little bit of salt and pepper. Typically people, early 30s and beyond are on Facebook more than a lot of other platforms. Instagram has a bit younger audience. LinkedIn has a lot of professionals. If you're someone that's running a podcast, you absolutely need to consider sharing your podcast via LinkedIn because a lot of professionals are listening to podcasts on a regular basis. If you are in literary arts, then you probably already know about Medium, which is a great platform to promote what you do. And obviously, if you have any type of video content, whether that's the main role of your organization is creating video content, or you just are creating video content around the work that you do, you absolutely should be on YouTube. We'll jump into other information and how you can monetize those things a bit later. but this is just giving you an idea of where to post. Also, something to keep in mind. A lot of us, because we have a specific job to do and specific information to share, we are oftentimes looking to, post about what it is that we have going on as frequently as possible. And what ends up happening is after a while, it feels a bit spammy, right? You don't want to spam your audience. So you want to find a healthy way to kind of balance what it is you're promoting. Post things that your organization is interested in that isn't necessarily self-promotion. Maybe it's promoting other organizations you work with. Maybe it's promoting events that your organization plans on attending that has useful information. Maybe it is some artwork or some type of video content that was shared by someone else that you found to be very motivational. Sometimes, we've experienced this where we've shared those type of things, and those things sometimes get far more traffic than our usual posts sharing flyers and things of that nature. So just something to keep in the back of your mind and try to consider adding that to the mix of things that you share. Okay. Why post? Simply to create audience engagement. The more time people are engaging with you, the more likely they are to invest in what you're doing, spend time supporting what you're doing, keep your audience informed. Obviously, you want to make sure that they know what's going on with you, and that you're the main place that they need to go to get that information, as opposed to going somewhere else. You also want to you're using it to attract new potential followers and clients. All right. You want to increase your chances of being featured by other influencers. And so that's the importance of you actually, leading by example, you seeing other influencers that you respect in the community, who stuff influences you and inspires you to do great work. You should absolutely be sharing and promoting what they're doing as well and building those relationships. And obviously, at the end of the day, we want to generate income, right? We want to we want to leverage these platforms to generate more business for our companies and organizations. Okay, so analytics, insights, they need to be your favorite words if you're spending a lot of time on social media. Analytics is the discovery, interpretation, and communication of meaningful patterns and data, and the process of applying those patterns toward effective decision-making. In other words, analytics can be understood as the connective tissue between data and effective decision-making within an organization. Insights, for the purposes in marketing, are the results of applying human thought and reasoning to analyze data. Searching for and producing directional change is the way we think or the way we act. All right. So regardless of what platform you prefer, this information is available, and you need to be accessing that information so you can apply it to your posting habits and these different things, and maybe change your habits of posting based on the information that you see. That way you create, that way it's a far more productive experience for you. That way what you're doing is, there's always going to be a bit of luck involved, understand that. But that now it becomes more smart decision-making and less luck, right? We could all use a little bit of luck. There's nothing wrong with that, but we want to be intentional about the work we're doing. Okay. All right. So as I mentioned before, I'm also a recording artist. So as you can see, this is not our business account. This is my account as a recording artist. Really quick, you can see the main page and understand that you're looking at what it looks like on Android. And then the next slide is going to show you what it looks like.
Right. So at this time, if you do have your phones handy,
Yes.
please take those out so we could walk you through how to navigate. If you do not know already where to locate your insights and analytics, please take your phones out now and we'll walk you through that process.
Quick sidebar. I'm trying not to flirt with my wife, but her voice makes me happy. Anyway, back to the slide. So yes, this is what it looks like on Android. All right. The first one is a screenshot of the main page, right? And then when you see where insights would fall if you're on an Android, you click on that. And then the first thing you'll see is your content page. Now, understand we're only showing you pieces of the data. When you're on your phone and you're accessing these things, you can see far more. Now, understand it's only going to look like what you're looking at right now if you have either a business account or a creator account. Okay. So it's not going to look like this if you just have a regular personal account. So if you're using social media for your business or organization, you want to make sure that you set it up for either, if you're an individual, you should set up a creator account. If you have a business that you're promoting, you should absolutely use it, use the business platform. Okay. And so what it does, as you can see, it shows you the dates, and it shows you different posts that you've done through that period of time. It shows the 25 posts and stories that you shared during that week. And you can take a look and you'll see like an eye with like numbers next to it. And that's how many impressions those particular things received within that time period. So within 7 days. Okay. And so the next one next to it shows activity. It shows how many accounts that you reached in a 7-day period. So as you can see, I was able to reach 7,200 plus accounts within a week, right? And it shows you what days of the week were the most popular. Monday was really active. Friday was extremely active. And Wednesday wasn't so bad either. And Saturday and Sunday, not so bad. Thursday sucked for me. I probably didn't post anything for Throwback Thursday that week. All right. And so it shows the reach, it shows impressions, which is roughly about just over 30,000, right? And then you go to the last one, which is very important because it's important to know who your audience is. So there you can see how many followers I have on that particular account versus how many people in that week followed my account and how many people I lost that week, you know, rest in peace to them. And basically it shows how many followers you receive overall. On that same page, when you scroll, when you go down on that page, you will also be able to see what percentage of your audience is female versus male, what cities they're located in, what countries they're located in. It also will show you age groups as well. Okay. So we go to the next slide, and then this is what it looks like. This is our business account. This is what it looks like when you are viewing it on an iPhone, okay? So it shows how many posts. Again, it's a very similar setup. It's just the biggest difference is, you know, you'll see the 3 lines in the top right-hand corner, which you would click on your iPhone, okay? And then it shows you how to go from page to page. And also remember how I mentioned before about your audience and how you would be able to see the top locations and age range, and you can kind of get a glimpse of that there. Also on activity, it also can show you like how often people are visiting, clicking on your website that you have linked in there. Just great information. This is stuff you need to know, and just will help you make better decisions on, you know, just being more intentional in terms of where you want to send folks, what type of engagement you want to create, and so on and so forth. Okay. All right. Now, listen, wow, social media is awesome. It can also suck. But more than anything, one of the most important things you can do is create a website. While social media is very important and it's a great tool, that's all it is a tool. Your website is a far more important tool. It also, it's important to keep in mind that your website, a lot of times for people, lets them know out the gate how professional you are, regardless to social media. You know, so, I mean, a good amount of our clients, when they first come to us, don't have websites. And we try to make sure that whether we're the one that one's designing it for them or someone else, that before they stop working with us, hopefully they never stop working with us, but before we part ways, they understand the importance of having a website. All right. It's a great way to not just promote what you're doing and create a professional environment for what you're doing. It also is key to helping you build a mailing list as well and having direct content minus any algorithms, so to speak, that could prevent how you engage with your audience. Okay. So make sure you create a website first and foremost. As far as other things you should have on your checklist, create profiles on relevant social media networks. You do not need to be on every one. But a strategy that I use is once I find out about one, I sign up and I stay active on the ones that matter most for what I do. But as some one particular thing falls off, another thing kind of takes over. So you hear less about Snapchat these days. I have a Snapchat account. I have a TikTok account. But as Snapchat fell off, I started to do more stuff on TikTok. So, but I didn't have to rush to sign up. I already had what I needed, made sure my name was secured early on. And so I highly advise you to do the same, and just be ready in case things shift, because they do. Remember MySpace? You know, it's just, I'm just saying. All right. So anyway, make sure you have a short bio as well. It's great that your company has done a lot and you've been in existence for 40 years and your bio is 3 pages. That's amazing. But I'm gonna need one that is 150 characters, so you can go ahead and post that neatly across all of your platforms. Get familiar with your analytics, which we discussed. Also, make sure that you use a social media calendar. Start plugging in what you're going to post on what days in your calendar. And there's a great tool that you can utilize, which I'm going to come back to later, called Facebook Creator Studio, which actually allows you not just to program your Facebook post in advance. You can also do that with Instagram, because remember, Facebook owns Instagram.
And I just want to just add, in addition to the link that we shared in the chat that provides you with a copy of this presentation, we've also have a resource tool, a social media calendar for you all to utilize as well.
Mm-hmm.
So please reference that.
Yeah, it's an excellent tool just to help you plan out bare minimum, not just what type of content you're going to post, but figure out the captions as well, what hashtags you want to utilize, all of that. Promote posts that are performing well organically. That is key. You will see messages all the time encouraging you to promote something on Facebook or Instagram, but you should only promote things, in my professional opinion, you should only be promoting things that are already performing well organically. So if you typically post things and they only see between 50 to 100 likes, or maybe a bit less, maybe, 20 to 30 likes, but then you share something related to your business or something that you're excited about, and all of a sudden it has, high 50s, over 100 likes, a couple of 100 likes, and this is something related to what you do, you should absolutely promote that. It does not cost much. You can do promotions for a few dollars or a few $100s or thousands of dollars, but it really depends on your budget. We typically don't spend more than $50 a month, and sometimes less than that, on Facebook and Instagram promotion. And it's been a very great tool, but that's only when it's done right. Okay. Also, make sure you finish outstanding tasks. And what I mean by that is, while social media is great and the internet can be cool, it can also waste so much of your time. So if you have certain outstanding tasks, if there is, if you're preparing for a large scale performance or a small performance that your organization has, or a big event, and you have a lot of tasks that don't involve social media that have to get done, you probably want to focus a bit on that. And that's the whole point of having that calendar as well, just to get you more organized so you don't lose hours of your day on social media. Okay. Also, respond to inbound social messages. Sometimes you will get, I'm not sure how frequently you all are checking your DM, but you probably should be doing that several times a day if you have a lot of activity on your page, and make sure you're responding to these messages, because each one of them are potential clients, right? Obviously, do it only when required, which means that if it's not something pertaining to your business, and they're just trying to see if you're single and free to mingle, maybe that's not the place to do it. So, and make sure you respond to and monitor any untagged brand mentions. So make sure you follow hashtags related to your business. So hopefully you can stumble upon people who are talking about what you do, but maybe didn't tag you in it. So this is your opportunity to thank them and show them that you appreciate them, and hopefully create a follower. All right. And lastly, seek and engage potential customers. Those last few things I mentioned are great ways to do that. But you should actively be looking for people who may be interested in what you do. That's one of the most important things you can do. Most of us are not a part of huge organizations that have a large staff of people. A lot of us are part of a small crew of folks who are working toward one goal. And so you need to actively be seeking out and looking for people who may be interested in your cause or whatever it is that you're doing, to help them join your band, your crew, or so to speak. All right, so here we go. This is a list of some tools. I won't go through every one of them because I don't want to bore you out of your mind. But if you need to shorten links, let's say your organization has a super long name and your event has a lot of words in the title, and then when you try to create a link for it on your page, it has almost 50 characters. That is not a good look. And that counts toward how many characters you can utilize on a lot of these sites. And keep in mind, in places like Instagram, you shouldn't even be putting links in your caption because no one can click on it. Okay, so that's why most people put it in their bios. But Bitly is a great way to shorten your links, and they also allow you to see analytics on the links to see how much activity you're getting. All right. Another website that does something similar, which is a bit further down the list, is Smart URL, which is great if you have a podcast, if you have if you're a musician, if you're someone who has a touring schedule, or just a lot of events, you can utilize Smart URL for all of those things, and it gives amazing analytics. So I highly recommend both of those. Buffer, CoSchedule, let me see, Social Native, and Social Sprout. Wait a minute, not Social Native, but Social Sprout are very similar. They are very much focused around like helping you maximize your social media experience for your company, and it gives you great tools. Creator Studio is what I mentioned before, which is by Facebook Creator Studio. It has an app version, and you can use it through your desktop browser. Most of you are hopefully familiar with Eventbrite. Eventbrite is a great tool to use to promote your events, not just because of the information and analytics they gather and how you're able to take care of tickets through a particular app they have, but also because it can link directly in your Facebook event so that people don't have to leave Facebook to purchase a ticket. Something to remember about any online activity: the more times people have to click to get to something, the less people are going to be there in the end. So roughly, you're only going to see 10% or less of the people that you've sent something to take the first step of clicking on it. But for every additional click that they take, you're going to, and it's really closer to 5%, but you're going to lose more and more people. So just keep that in mind. All right. So any way you can shorten that, you definitely should. Hootsuite is another way to manage your social media that costs. IFT may be one of the best kept secrets. And I'm just going to focus on this one and keep it moving. But IFT stands for if this, then that. Okay. What it allows you to do, you can program everything from your social media. For example, my personal social media every day at 9 a.m. says peace world and good morning. It has been doing that every day for nearly 7 years. And that's something I programmed through IFT. It also allows me to control Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Tumblr, a long list of other sites, just kind of automating various posting throughout. Now, you don't ever want to make your page all about automated posts. You want to balance it out and making sure you have your finger on the pulse of what's happening in the world, including the current situation our country's in. So you being mindful of those things and making sure you're not sending automated posts out all of the time when the world's, going through what it's going through. And so being mindful of that. But this is a great tool just to save you some time so you don't have to remember to post to all 10 of your pages. Okay. So we'll keep it moving. But and TweetDeck allows you, if your company has multiple Twitter accounts, TweetDeck was created by Twitter, and it lets you manage all of that. You can search certain terms on there, search hashtags, all of that. It'll do it for you. Once you program it, it'll do it automatically, and it's free. All right. So beating the algorithm is it's very tough, but these are just a few strategies. Something that's on both sections is sharing more video content. That's key, because a lot of times people just want to post still images, but moving images tend to perform well on both of these platforms, and we're only going to focus on Facebook and Instagram right now. Okay. But video content tends to perform much better on both of these social media sites. All right. Also, making sure that you're posting at optimal times based on global activity and, most importantly, your analytics. If you're posting on Instagram, try to consider making sure that the quality of your photo and video, for that matter, is as high as possible. You really need to go into your camera settings, click on that little sprocket, take a look at what your make sure you have it set up for the optimum resolution. Most phones nowadays can bare minimum shoot high definition and go as high as 4K. So, you want to take advantage of these settings that these camera phones have nowadays, and make sure you're promoting the best possible quality content. All right. Make sure with your posts, you're driving discussions, especially on Facebook. Don't just post something and say, hey, this is coming out, or we're doing this later this week, and then leaving it there. For example, if you're posting about an event, you can say something like, just a friendly reminder, our event is later this week. What part of the event are you most excited about? Questions, putting a question in there, something to get people to start to engage with it, will increase the visibility of the post. Okay. Encourage your team and collaborators to make sure they share the content. Of course, you want to make sure this is something you do across both platforms, but something you can do on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, every one of these sites, is make sure that you encourage your audience to turn on their notifications. Sometimes you can do it on the platforms, but if you have a mailing list, that's a great place to remind people, hey, turn on your notifications. Make sure you basically have it set up where they can get notified for everything. For some people, that's very annoying, but if they really care about what's going on with you, they're going to want to know. They're going to want to know. All right. And just keep your posts unique. If you having a big event coming up and it's a few weeks out, please don't share the flyer 20 times. Don't post the flyer over and over again. That's a great way to just kill your activity on your page. All right. On Instagram, Facebook, any of these platforms that allow you to go live, try to go live often. Instagram Live is extremely popular right now since we've been sheltered in place. So you can absolutely utilize those features. Anytime any of these sites introduce new features, you want to go ahead and start to learn about it and use it before they, clamp down with the algorithm on it, so you can make the most of it. All right. Make sure you're writing stronger captions, and of course, use hashtags. Do some research, find some hashtags. Instagram lets you know how popular a hashtag is. The more use a hashtag is getting, that means the more people are seeing it. So you might want to include it if it's relevant. Okay. All right.
Are you guys still breathing?
Yeah. Am I still breathing?
Thank you so much, Sam. So we will, again, I know that there are questions, and again, we will address all of them at the end. We've allocated time for that. We do have another poll that we want to talk about, basically based on what you've just learned. Posts more versus what you should post versus what you should post less of. So if you can complete that, take a couple moments for that, and then we will transition into passive income and monetization.
Right. And they're off. Gotcha. It's great to see the responses. So got a lot of folks talking about video content. A lot of people, yes, behind the scenes content
absolutely
is we always love to show the end result, but the journey, how you got there, the training, the rehearsals, all of those things are very important. Make sure you're documenting those stuff. That type of stuff is very important. Okay, yep. So posting more video content was the most popular, 71%, and then less low quality photos and video. Yes,
they're listening.
Good
They're
job.
Listening. All right. So let's make you guys some money, okay?
Yes.
So passive income and monetization.
All right.
And so we're going to focus on, of course, how it relates to both for visual artists as well as performing artists. So what is passive income? So for most of you who have heard of passive income, it's usually associated with real estate, typically rental properties. Basically what passive income is money that you earn without having to physically be present. Or in most cases, it's money, it's maybe doing a job one time, but seeing that multiply several times.
Right.
And so we'll get into that more. As creatives and creative entrepreneurs, there is a wide range of ways to earn passive income. And so we're going to share that with you now.
All right. And of course, this is not a list of everything. All right.
But just to get you started.
Just to get you started, some things to think about. Okay.
Right. So we're going to start first with ebooks and audiobooks. So if you are, let's say you're an author, a writer, or even if you're a person that has a certain level of expertise, an ebook and or audiobook can be a great way to earn some passive income. Resources like Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing platform to publish ebooks, or you could use something called Audible's ACX platform, which is also for audiobooks. Yeah. Next, we have, did you want something?
Yeah, I was just going to, it's important to understand that any type of creative or any individual can create an ebook or audiobook. You don't have to be don't limit yourself. If you're a dancer, you're probably not thinking about an audiobook, but you absolutely could create that, talking about your experience in the industry, the different companies you've worked with, what that journey looked like. You know, these are things that people look to for inspiration. And to get an idea of what it's going to look like on their journey.
Right. Next up, we have kits and sample packs. So for those of you that are vocalists, instrumentalists, percussionists,
vocal percussionists,
actors, producers, etc., you can upload a sample pack, basically of your music, of phrases, words, and
audio stems.
Exactly.
Like, so it doesn't have to just be the final work. You can actually break up the final work into pieces and make those things available.
Exactly. So some resources for that is Loop Masters, Splice, Producer Spot, and things of that nature. You can also use sample pack distribution sites like Rightsify.
Yep.
You can also offer sample packs through your own website for higher returns. So that's something else to definitely consider. Offer online classes, especially now, as most of you have seen, because people are at home and are either honing their skills or sharing their knowledge. Offering a class in your discipline on your website or on one of these websites. Skillshare is one that we have referenced, and also Teachable. For those, again, musicians, streaming. Having your music on digital streaming platforms like Spotify is a great way to generate passive income. Similar to audio, video content can be sold. You can rent or stream for a small fee. Musicians can submit a playlist to playlist or add to tastemakers to help you grow your fan base and increase your income. And I know you want to add.
Yeah, sure. So, and as a musician of a certain age, you know, I'm 41, so I'm a part of. I'm viewed as a dinosaur in the genre of music that I work in. However, I come across a lot of older musicians who they see streaming as a very bad thing. And to a certain extent, you know, it can, sometimes it's not the best, right? However, there are tools out here, most of which are free, that can help you maximize how you can grow your fan base and potentially create more streams for yourself. Like it mentioned, getting on playlists. It could put you in a position literally where in a few months you could end up transitioning out of your full-time job just by landing on a playlist, two playlists, a few playlists. It is literally creating thousands of dollars a month, you know, virtually while we sleep for kids as young as 15, 16 to people much older through streaming.
And also streaming allows you to either to be discovered or for
Mhm.
people to rediscover you. So if you
Absolutely.
are a mature artist and who, because people aren't buying CDs, a
Mhm.
lot of music is being obtained from streaming. This is an opportunity to, share your art with
Mhm.
the greater public. And you're not just limited to just your local area, but not only locally, statewide, nationwide, as well as worldwide.
Yep. And the last thing I was just going to mention is it's more cost effective as well. It doesn't cost you very much to make your music available on digital streaming platforms. And it's far less than manufacturing a CD, a cassette, or a vinyl record. So it's just a more effective way to create passive income for yourself.
Next, we have is subscriptions. So websites like Bandcamp, that Stan had mentioned before, and Patreon will allow you to offer your content, whether it's video, film, music, visual arts. You can offer your content for a monthly or even an annual fee to your
Mhm.
audience.
Yeah. And sites like Patreon, it really does not matter what type of content you're offering. Whether you may be a teacher who offers certain content on Skillshare or Teachable, but you absolutely could be offering the same thing on Patreon. Um, and the same is true for virtually anything, whether you're a dancer, whether you're an artist, a musician, a gamer, doesn't matter what it is you're choosing to do. You would be surprised. You'd find virtually anything on Patreon. And what Patreon allows you to do, it allows you to create these different tier levels and offer various services or different content, for each tier. And it just paints a clearer picture of what your passive income is going to look like from month to month, allowing you to budget better in your real life, so on and so forth.
We also have YouTube monetization.
Mhm.
You can make money via YouTube, via advertising revenue, channel membership. If you are, you have to have at least 30,000 subscribers in order to
Mhm.
gain money that way. Merchandise shelf, you need to have bare minimum 10,000 subscribers, and super chat and super stickers and YouTube premium revenue.
Right.
So that's something else to consider.
Absolutely. And also, for those of you interested in utilizing YouTube Live, you need to have a minimum of 1,000 subscribers. However, those other categories that we mentioned where said you needed at least 10,000 subscribers. I know I've been bringing up gamers a lot. And I'm pretty sure it's not a lot of gamers watching this right now. However, your children may be. So, don't be selfish, right? Just keep all of this information in mind and understand that if you have a child in your home right now who is serious about gaming, gaming is absolutely a career for a lot of young people and plenty of adults nowadays.
And it also includes the arts. I mean,
Absolutely.
you have music composers who do music, who provide the music for video games.
Mhm.
You have the illustrators who are creating the content. So
Absolutely.
it's still very much
You
affiliated with the arts.
even performing arts folks like dancers,
Right.
they're choreographing dancing for video games. So this is another thing you may want to consider in terms of other ways to generate income for what you're doing. Just thinking outside of the box a bit based on where the world is moving. All right.
All right, merchandise, which most of us, I believe, are very familiar with, but selling it online. So having an e-commerce. So selling merchandise online through an e-commerce website or sites like Etsy is another great way to earn passive income.
Mhm.
And I'm going to go right into the print on demand because it ties in with merchandise. You wanted to add something?
Yeah, I did want to add something. If you do have an e-commerce website too, something to keep in mind, you don't just have to offer merchandise there. And this is something that just struck me. You can also sell tickets to your event.
That's true.
Because if you're already paying a monthly fee to offer to have an e-commerce website, rather than going somewhere else and having to split a fee with them, if you're already paying this month in and month out, you absolutely can offer tickets through your website.
And that you actually bring up a very good point because, for instance, with our website provider, we use Squarespace, and Squarespace actually allows you to incorporate a form into your website. So if you wanted to sell tickets through your own personal website, you can do that as well.
Yeah,
So that's
vendor
very cool.
space, all types of things. We've used it for all of that. The downside to that, though, is if you're a person who's trying to sell merchandise on Facebook and Instagram, if you offer too many different types of services through your website and it's not very focused on one particular thing, you will not be able to sell merchandise directly through Facebook or Instagram. So that's something to keep in mind. Just something,
To balance.
right.
Yeah. For print on demand, so rather than selling your art once, right, you can offer prints of your work on websites like Printify or Printful, Redbubble, Shopify, Society6, Spreadshirt, Sunfrog, Teespring, Threadless, and Zazzle, basically for a commission. So this is great. This is a great option for a lot of us out here who don't necessarily want to be responsible for inventory. If you have a design, if you're a visual artist, you can upload your designs and make that available. Maybe you have a design that you think would be a great T-shirt or on a cup or a mug or something, some type of product. And so this is a great resource. They take of course, they take a commission. I mean, they take a fee, and then you would receive a portion of that as well.
Right. And some of those websites have marketplaces as well, where you can license your work to the site and allow people to incorporate designs that you've created into their work. And every time they sell a piece, that's a commission for you.
There you go. You can also rent out your artwork. Renting out your artwork is not only a great way to earn passive income, but it's also great for promotion. You can use sites like Rise Art, Turning Art, Get Art Up, to name a few. You could also contact your local businesses, school districts, and more about renting or loaning your artwork. We also have stock images and video, again, for our visual artists. You can submit your photography or your art, your painting, and sometimes graphics to websites like Adobe Stock, Getty Images, iStock Photo, Shutterfly, etc., to earn passive income from your work. Next, we also have sync licensing for our performing artists. Here's a list of some music licensing websites to help earn passive income for TV and film, and or, like we mentioned before, video games. And these resources are Rumblefish, BeatPick, ULicense, Scout Music, Centric Music, and TuneCore. Did you want to add?
Yeah, absolutely. And understand also that some of these services, a lot of these different things that we're talking about, there sometimes are conventions around these particular things. So let's say that you're a recording artist who's very interested in getting your music in the TV, but you don't know where to start. I highly recommend looking into something called SyncCon. This company, they basically offer, they have like a convention twice a year. Obviously, we're in a different time right now, but a lot of these places, they haven't stopped having conventions. They've just moved online, right? So try your best to, save a little bit of money, attend these conventions whenever possible for networking purposes, so you can find ways to break into these different industries. That also applies to something like YouTube. If you believe that YouTube could be very useful for your organization, believe it or not, YouTube and a lot of these sites actually have conventions and online events like around the world, right? In different locations. So, and again, it's online right now for most of this stuff. So you can you can find most of this information for a relatively low price or free in some cases because of the current state of the world. So, all right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so now we're going to transition to what we're calling the balancing act, social media versus social life. Yes, and breathe. So we would be remiss if we did not take some time to focus on briefly on the mental health of everyone. Because, I mean, social media, again, is a great tool. However, again, it's a great tool for building community, engaging new audiences, and all of that. However, it also has some negative effects as well. Studies have shown that social media use can lead to depression, low self-esteem, body image issues, anxiety, social isolation, and a slew of other issues. And so we want to focus on not only promoting, yes, you want to promote your business, but taking time and making space for yourself, for your family, to recoup, to re-energize. And so if you could go to the next slide, please.
Yep.
And we're going to briefly go over a couple of things. We mentioned earlier about scheduling your posts. We highly recommend doing that. I mean, we as a family, we're guilty of this as well. This is so much for us as it is for you all.
Absolutely.
Where you want to make time. So designating time, okay, maybe I'm just going to deal in the morning or deal with it just during the afternoon, midday, and then break. Set yourself, if you have to, set yourself on a timer, set time limits. You want to place your phone out of reach or out of the room. I highly recommend doing that, especially at night. It shouldn't be the first thing you see and the first thing you see when you wake up and the first thing you see the last thing you see before you go down in the evening. So again, wanting to set boundaries, set virtual boundaries. You want to make sure that you create free phone-free zones in your home or office. When you're engaging with your colleagues or with your family, you want to be present. You want to make sure that you are making time and space for them so that they can be heard and so that you can be heard as well. And so making sure that you have designated areas, if it's with your family, especially with a lot of us who are fortunate to be with our family in the house, and maybe, it's going well for you, and maybe for some of you it's not. And so maybe setting boundaries for, like, we have a meal together, or we have breakfast together, or lunch together, or and making sure if we're watching a movie together as a family, everybody's device free, and setting those boundaries and setting up good examples for those that come behind us. I mean, we always talk about millennials and the younger generation always plugged in, and so we're guilty of it as well. And so we all need to set positive examples. Take social media breaks. And what does that look like? So I have friends who will literally delete the app, the social media apps from their phone, so they're not even tempted, and will take maybe a week off or a month off or several months off and just be completely disconnected so that they can be fully present when they engage their family or friends. And also for your mental health. I mean, with everything that's going on currently, where, news channels are talking about protests and riots and everything all day, every day. And, we're glued in, you're sucked in. I mean, it does something. It doesn't just, it can be you can absorb that. And that negative energy can actually cause pain and stress and anxiety. And so just to be mindful of that. And so if you go to the next slide.
Sure.
These are some benefits to consider of taking a social media break. For a lot of us, you use Instagram can be a great tool for inspiration, but also it could be a deterrent as well. And so you want to make sure that you are able to unplug so that you can be more creative. Go on walks, for instance, be with nature, go, do some type of physical activity. Break the social media comparison cycle. Oh, well, this organization, I mean, look at their numbers. And, numbers aren't everything. Sometimes they're fluctuated. Sometimes people paid for those numbers. You don't really know what the organization did, or maybe like it could be luck. But if you are doing, if you're abiding by your mission and your goals and your vision, that should be your focus, not necessarily the number. If you are able to make a positive impact on your audience, that's what you should be focusing on. You want to also protect your privacy. Stan had mentioned earlier, I am a very private person. However, I understand that, there is balance, and people appreciate that. We came up, in the era of reality TV shows, and people want to be, voyeurs, and I get that. But at the same time, because there's so much access, you want to, again, create boundaries for that. Taking breaks, another benefit would be less competitive. You get to focus more on what it is that you are doing, what you should be doing versus what they're doing. Taking a break will improve your mental health. You overcome your fear of missing out. I remember, for myself personally, like, you have a favorite TV show and you can't miss it. Every week it's on and you're right there, and God forbid you miss a week and you're just like, you're bummed. And then you realize, okay, you didn't miss anything. And in this day and age where you have Hulu and streaming and, if you miss it, it's okay. You can catch it at a later time. It'll be fine. You'll be all right. Reconnect with the real world. I know it's very difficult now where a lot of us are engaging in social distancing, but finding platforms like this, attending workshops, attending classes, whether it's dance, music, the arts are really, as horrible as it can be, what we're experiencing, there are some gifts with this, and it's forcing the creative community to be even more creative and really dig deeper into how to reach and connect. And so just finding different ways that works for you and your organization. We talked about being present. I highly recommend taking a break so that you can focus on what it is that you need to do. If you are currently writing a book or a story or article, you are able now to complete that. Use this time, like I mentioned before, as a gift to complete those projects that you've had on the back burner for so long, because there's no more excuse. And again, tomorrow's not promised. I mean, we've seen for the past 3 months that people were here and who are no longer here. And so if there's something that you want to do or want to achieve, do that and focus in on that and really, hone in on that. Stop obsessing over the past. Yes, that's another one I've seen where folks are very much 3 months ago we were able to do this. Yeah, well, that's no longer the case. So what can we do now? Let's focus on the today. And then also you gain some free time, because again, when you're like this, and you're plugged in, you're missing out on all the things that are happening around you. Maybe reaching out to your neighbor, of course, social distancing, but finding different ways to connect with folks. I cannot stress that enough. And that's why we wanted to really make sure that we took the time, because I know we've gave you so much information on social media and marketing and how to do this and that and the third, and that in itself can be overwhelming. And so it's all in perspective, scheduling, making time, setting boundaries, and then creating the work. Yeah. And so that's my little disclaimer.
And I wanted to add, as far as the free time piece, one of the, and this is, like me leading you back into the dark side, but a lot of these social media apps and even games on your phone show you how much time you spend on it.
Yes.
So in your analytics and insights, you can actually take a look at the average amount of time you're spending on these apps. And it's a wake-up call, when things are slow for us, even when things are slow. I, on average, spend an hour a day on some of these platforms during slow times. When we're highly active and we're promoting different things and engaging with our clientele on a regular basis, it literally goes between 2 to 3 hours a day. And that's 2 to 3 hours that I'm not actively working on a project or consulting a client or like spending time with my wife and kids. It takes away from a lot. So definitely just keep that in mind. If you feel like at some point that you're spending too much time on it and you want to know what that time looks like, you can actually see that in the apps.
So yes, last but not least, just protect your energy and your mental space, because it's a lot, not only with social media, but with everything that around us, what's happening to us, with people being out of work, not knowing whether they have enough money to put food on the table or pay their rent. And so you want to protect your energy, you want to protect your mental space, you want to protect your health. And so these are just little things you can do, we hope, and encourage you to do that. We actually ended a little early, which is great because we want to be able to address some questions. So at this time, you are as smart as the question you think to ask and the research you are willing to do. None other than by this guy.
Yeah. So that's something, as I mentioned before, I worked in education for over 20 years. So that's something I would say to my students all the time. It's something I say to adults all the time, because some of my students were adults. And so, it's just important that you have the opportunity now to get some questions answered. So let's try to, answer whatever questions you have for us. So I see in the Q&A, there are already 2 questions here, Danielle.
Yes.
Okay, so let me click on that. And that text is small, but I think I can see it.
Can you?
Does it cost money to have an Instagram creator account? No, it does not. It is what I like to call free 99. Cost you nothing. All right. Just cost you time. That is it, Carrie. Thank you for your question. Carrie has another question. It says, if you don't have a tangible merchandise product to sell, but work as an advisor / consultant, what is the best way to promote those services other than your own website? How do you reach target audience on social media for these specialized services? Great question, and you asked the right people. All right, so this is what we do. Our clients' successes, they're our successes. Even when they have moments where they achieve something that maybe we didn't necessarily contribute directly to, because of the fact that they are a part of our network, because of the fact that we are actively rooting for them and providing them with resources all the time. Every victory they have, everything that they're sharing on their platforms, we absolutely take those things and we repost them just to show what's happening with our artists. And sometimes our artists are reposting the things that we're sharing about them because they don't know how to frame it. And so maybe it's some of our musician clients who we help land on official editorial playlist. Then we share that. We share growth. There's some things we put in that help grow their base, help them sell more of a particular thing, and they achieve a certain milestone, and we played a role in that. Then we show that information, we provide that, and we highlight them. We create we at one point in time we were doing Spotlight Saturdays, I think.
Spotlight Saturdays. We also have created branding and logos for some of our clients. So when they launch, we do a cross promotion with them, and every time we see their logo, it's a reflection on us because we created that for them. That's being placed on their products and services and posts. So yeah, definitely. I would
Testimonials.
say. Absolutely.
You should absolutely reach out to your clients, asking them to give you written testimonials, audio or video testimonials, and then you can just kind of repackage that. Like maybe you don't post the entire testimonial, maybe you use one of these 1,000,001 free apps out here to create cool text designs. You could use something like Spark Post by Adobe, and you just plug in the information with some quotes. You can actually go to our website and see examples of that on our front page toward the bottom, where it shows different events that we've done, but also in between those images are quotes from our clients. And so, but yeah, that's content that you can create that you could be sharing as well.
Okay.
All right.
Great. And I'll just put out really quickly as a reminder that if anyone does have a question that they'd like to ask themselves, you can use the raise your hand feature, and I'm happy to unmute anybody, or you can type your questions in the chat or in the Q&A feature. I don't see any other questions right now, but I do actually have some questions that we got from people when they registered that I'll go ahead and refer to.
Okay.
Somebody asked, how do I use social media to sell big ticket items?
Sure. So you need to register if you are on Facebook. Facebook they have I think it's business.facebook.com. You can, if you already have a page on Facebook, you can utilize that. You go in there and I don't have the information in front of me. I have like a link that I refer to. Like I have all of my social media tools in a particular folder that I can access in my browser. But what it allows you to do, if you go to business.facebook.com, you can offer merchandise through Facebook, which will also populate Instagram. And it allows people to purchase your inventory or your, whether it's your art, whether it's, smaller items. But yeah, you could absolutely use sites like that to sell directly through these platforms. Those are probably the two most popular that people sell their items through. Even before people had that feature, like you saw people going as far as they would just post images of it and allow people to make offers in their DM. Now that's not as professional, but I saw plenty of companies thrive on doing that. So there's a lot of different ways to manage that.
Great. And we have another question from Liz Matthews. I'm interested in what you just said about how you organize all your social media platforms on your computer. Will you talk more about that?
Sure. So, our let me find the words. Our browsers, right, allow us to bookmark the different sites that we utilize. So I literally go through mine and I bookmark various tools. So I'll say, like, I have a section called social media site tools. And most of the things that you saw me list on here, the ones that I utilize, they're all listed there. And that's why I provided the list for you all, just so you could, it's pretty much just me kind of copy and paste from those bookmarks and then just adding it into the slides here. But largely, it's just something to keep me organized. So when it's time for me to do it, sometimes I'll use a service once, and then that service doesn't necessarily apply to the next 6 or 7 jobs I'm doing. And then all of a sudden, a client will come into play who needs specific help. And I immediately think, oh, wow, that service that we utilize might be great for them. And so I have a place where I can go and find it quickly. So it's just me staying organized, saving myself some time. I have enough gray hairs. I'm not trying to add more anytime soon. So I try to stay organized,
Okay, and I thought this was another good question. My organization has had to cancel concerts for the upcoming season, so we will be focusing on online marketing and fundraising.
Mm-hmm.
What are some strategies to organize our archival material and combine with new material that will be more difficult to create with our team isolated at home?
Sure. No, that's a great one. So, and keep in mind, some of the suggestions that we'll make are, we're kind of operating in the blind, right? Where I don't necessarily know everything that they do. So I will say that, certain content you can create like a rollout plan. So let's say that you have YouTube. YouTube has a premiere feature where you're not necessarily putting on a live event, but because it's an event that hasn't been shared before, you can create a premiere for it. You can promote that using social media for however many weeks you choose to promote. Create your flyer, use Bitly, like I said, to shorten the link and direct people there. And you can spend however much time you need sending people to this landing page on YouTube. So they can register, they can go ahead, not register, but they can set a reminder. So the moment that it's live, they all can rush there and watch it at the moment it becomes available. And in that moment, it also allows you to use the chat feature. So people can literally have a conversation live as it's showing for the very first time. So it's kind of recreating the live experience, but at home. There are plenty of people also using platforms or using things like Zoom as well.
Artists.
Yeah, so I have a great amount of friends in the music industry that have literally moved their open mics to Zoom. In fact, unfortunately, some good friends of mine in New York, organization called End of the Week, they have open mics literally around the world. And they lost one of their original members. He passed away during the pandemic. And so they, instead of doing their individual open mics, they literally had all of these people from around the world jump on to share stories about this person. They turned their open mic into this just open forum. And it had hundreds of people from around the world, hundreds of people. And it literally stayed going on from that Sunday until the following Friday, because people were around the world. So it was continuous. It never ended for several days. And so, I mean, that's almost the equivalent of an online festival, right? And so there's so many creative things that you can utilize. And keep in mind, things like Zoom can be utilized through Facebook Live, right? Like you can connect it through Facebook Live if you pay for the license to do that. YouTube Live, if you have enough subscribers to offer that. So there's just different ways to do it.
Yeah, and I was just going to add too, utilizing the hashtags and the popular days like Flashback Friday and Throwback Thursday. You could upload old footage, utilizing that hashtag on that specific day to show archival material. Just another tool to be used to engage your audience. So those are some ways. If they're looking for fundraising, there are some grantors that are, some funders that are still have open applications. They are changing. Another platform to be used, you can utilize is crowdfunding. We have a workshop actually that we talk about that on how to launch a crowdfunding site. So that's another option as well.
Yeah, I was going to say crowdfunding platforms is a great way, great option for fundraising. I already mentioned one of them, which was Patreon. So again, if you have all of this content, YouTube allows you to create unlisted content, right? And Vimeo as well. And so that unlisted content that you create, you could share those links in your Patreon account and make it exclusively available for people who pay a monthly fee. I know some people who barely make any money on Patreon. And then there are other people who make thousands of dollars a month on Patreon. So that's a great way to kind of release that content over a certain period of time and receive funding for it. And then of course there are other sites such as Kickstarter, Indiegogo. If you're a nonprofit organization and you'd rather use something like GoFundMe is a great one as well.
Great. We have a question from Lisa. Could you go back to the hands-on instruction on our phones to see the analytics?
Sure.
Did anyone check them after you queued them? What did they find? Do all the platforms have this?
Yes. So first off, absolutely every platform allows you to access this data. Some platforms are way better than others. For example, I mentioned Facebook Creator Studio. Once you link your Facebook account and your Instagram account, you can access this information either on your phone through the Facebook Creator Studio app, or you can actually go on a web browser where you can see a broader picture of it, right? Just just an overload of information. But Facebook and Instagram in particular, again, Facebook owns Instagram. They are far better at giving you this information. Twitter, they're okay. It's great for certain things, but in terms of being able to look at the data, it's just not as clean. It's you can look at the information, but I was walking through it with a client the other night, and time of day is a bit harder to see there than it is like in Instagram and Facebook. But you can absolutely view this information. You can also view it for YouTube. YouTube has great information. One of the best ways to build your following or build subscribers on YouTube is to create more watch time versus get more views. And what that means is if you're making videos that maybe are longer, right? Maybe you're posting a concert that is 30 minutes, and then you being able to place ads in the beginning, in the middle, maybe at the end. Those are different things you can monetize. But then more importantly, because it's longer, someone's staying on that video, even if they don't watch the full video. If you had a 5-minute video, maybe they stay on for a minute and a half, right? But if you have a 25-minute video and it's something they're interested on, now they're staying on for 5 to 10, right? And the longer they're on there, the higher the likelihood is that they will subscribe, that they will go into the description and click on something, that maybe they'll press a like button. There's just different strategies to use. I'm feeling like I know there's more slides, right? We didn't get to the resource slide either. We'll answer the questions and then we'll go
Daniel,
back to
did you want us to go back to
that slide? Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Sure. I'm going to do it right now.
And she did have just a follow-up question. What is the optimum time for a video?
So it depends on two things. Number one, you can look at global activity. I would actually say that's number two. Number one is based on what the activity of her current audience is. So if her audience, when she looks at her analytics, if it shows that they're active early in the morning, then she probably needs to post it earlier in the day. If it shows that they're more active during lunchtime, like for example, our folks are usually most active from 12 noon to 3 and sometimes noon to 6 p.m. And that's what we see. So that would make sense for us. So she would have to look in her analytics to discover what works best for her audience. But I'm bringing that slide up again so we can see it. All right. All right. And I will expand it a bit. Go gadget. And there we have it. Okay. So again, based on my audience, if I'm looking at my activity and I see that these days of the week are performing best for me, like Mondays and Fridays, there could be a lot of different reasons why that's happening. However, a safe assumption would be maybe make sure if I'm going to take a few days off the following week, maybe not take those days off, right?
Oh, sorry. Can I interrupt for a second? It
Absolutely.
looks like the screen is actually black. So
Uh-oh. Yeah.
switching
Okay.
the
All right. Are you able to see it now?
yeah. Hmm.
Okay, got you. So when I went to full screen, it was hard to see. Okay. All right. So what I was just saying was that if I'm noticing that on these 2 days, right, and I can also sometimes change like the amount of time that it's showing me, like if I want to see like a longer period of time, and I would also keep in mind, and what I'm gonna try to do actually is let me unshare this screen for a second, and I will show you all what creator with Facebook. What's it called? What Facebook Creator Studio looks like, you know, because sharing is caring. All right. Hold on one second. Just bear with us. Creator Studio, yes. All right. So as that loads up, I will then share it so everyone can see it. See, this is the great part about having extra time left. All right. Okay, so we have that. Let's click share. Okay. All right. Does everyone see that now? It's Danielle, can you see it
Yeah.
now?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So this is what I was talking about before. It's a great way to manage your various platforms well, specifically Facebook and Instagram. All right. And so maybe make it a little bigger for those of you who vision maybe not as strong as others. All right. So it just gives you certain information, like it talks about top priorities here, new features such as paid partnership tools and things of that nature. You can click here to see your content library, right? If you notice, I currently manage 7 pages. Welcome to my life. And so, you know, I can check all of these things, or I can kind of focus on one if I like. So if I focus on our business page, let me click away these, all right? And let's say, just wanted to focus on us. Wow, I'm busy. All right, view. And so now it's just focusing on our content. For the person who asked earlier about things that they could share to kind of promote that they're a consulting service, when we celebrated our 3-year anniversary, here are testimonials, right? These are 4 testimonial videos that we received from various clients. But that's the type of stuff I was mentioning before. And then over here, you know, you can see like different information, talk about 3-second video views versus 1-minute video views, and engagement level, right? Now, if I switched it and I went, I can also look at like say my page, right? And then you can take a look at some of the different things I post. And so some of the stuff is business related. Some of the stuff deals with activism. Some of the stuff deals with a lot of different things that I work in. Some anime related stuff, all of that. And so right now it's just showing you Facebook, right? But if I click here, if I click on Instagram, then it changes up. And now it's showing you Instagram. So if we then go back here, it's going to adjust, and then you can see the various different things. So it'll show you how many likes versus how many comments, right? It gives you that data. You can focus in on your video content, photo, you can carousel, your carousel images that you have in stories. But then here's insights, the important one, right? And so again, it's showing you website views. You can compare that to profile visits. Then if you have calls set up on yours, it'll even show you that information. Talk about account reach, like how many accounts you're reaching, right? And then down here shows impressions. And the most important one is audience, right? So it shows based on, we just hit, congratulations to us. We just hit 1,300 followers yesterday. We're trying to live our best life. We're working hard. And so anyway, it shows what our audience looks like: 65% men, 35% women. And then it breaks down, the demographic, what age group they fall in, right? And then it shows activity, like what day of the week, right? And when you scroll against it, it shows how active they are, like what days of the week they're on. And as you can see, our followers are active every day. So like, this is 1,000 of our 1,300 followers are online every day, is what it's averaging. And then here's a graph showing you day of the week and time of day, right? And then you see our early birds. We don't have a lot of early birds, right? But we do have a lot of people who are on late, right? This is 3 a.m. And then we have around noon, it starts to pick up. But by the time we hit 3 p.m. on into the evening, they're very active. So, it's just a great breakdown. Shows you the country breakdown, cities, a lot of East Coast love, and a little bit of LA love. So, yeah. And once you have monetization set up, you can also take a look at that info. But anyway, so hopefully that was helpful. But definitely, if we have more questions, we can jump into that. And I'll stop sharing this for a second. And if there are any other things they want me to, just because I know we have a bit more time, any other sites or things that I mentioned that they want to see, I can absolutely bring those things up and show them and kind of walk them through it.
Great. So Susan has a couple questions. I'll start with this one. For ensembles that may not be able to present live concerts in the near future, what are your recommendations on creating and sharing virtual performances?
Well, I will say this. You will be surprised, right? Like now, if it's a bit more tricky doing it live, right? There are some people who've managed to create successful jam sessions live. However, there are plenty of people where they kind of lay the groundwork for what it is they're going to play ahead of time. Maybe send it out in parts. And people, because they have smartphones that can shoot high quality content, there are folks who are putting together full ensembles online. I'm actually a part of one that just came out. We actually went viral back in May. We did a tribute to the TV show Cowboy Bebop. And we pitched it to Funimation, the company that distributed that anime here in the United States. Because we wanted to do a fundraiser for COVID-19, and they went for it. We contacted the original company in Japan. They also went for it. And so I bring all of this up, not to brag, but just to show that ensemble that we put together had over 40 musicians from around the world. Right. And we had a full music video with everyone represented, right? Now, again, that's very difficult to do live if you have no experience with doing it. It is possible. There are platforms that exist that is built specifically for that. I do have someone in our network who's very familiar with that. So that is information I can probably dig up and get to you all later. But I would say if it's not something that's going to go live, there are creative ways where everyone could film themselves playing their particular part. I'm sure folks have a metronome. Like somewhere handy that they can set up and they can play for a set amount of time and have each musician add on. And then it's just about someone having the editing skills to bring it together. And that's the big,
that's the biggest piece.
Yeah, that's the biggest piece.
Is that I personally would highly recommend if you are able to do pre-recorded, because it allows you a little bit more freedom. And then making sure you have someone on your team that is great at film editing, that can piece all the different parts together.
And if you have, even if you don't have someone who's a great film editor, there's a website called Fiverr.
Yes.
And it is your friend. You can reach out you could reach out to people on Fiverr who usually turn around content very quickly. And you can just supply them. You can upload all the files for them, tell them what you need, and they can put it together for you and turn it around fairly quickly for a reasonable price. So that is another way to do it. You might even be able to find someone who can manage some of your online events as well. Like if you don't have someone on staff, you may be able to find something there. So.
Yeah, Susan said we're looking at doing pre-recorded music with live commentary.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the way to do it.
And so you could absolutely do that. I mean, you could even do something like if it's actually pre-recorded and edited, they could do something similar to what we're doing now via Zoom, where someone could literally take control, share their screen and show the actual video, and then people can, either take you can have the mics on if you like, that'd be chaos, but, or you could just have the chat going. So you could do that there. You could absolutely premiere it. You can have a watch party, because they do have watch parties on Facebook as well, where Facebook allows you to play a video at the same time for everyone. It premieres it at the same time for everyone, just like YouTube, and they can have like a watch event.
And speak to the whole donate feature button as well.
Yes. So what? This is something that I've done and other people that I know have done as well. There are, like, for example, if they are an organization that can take donations, where they can set that up through Facebook as well and collect donations. If they have a YouTube channel that is an official YouTube partner, I believe you have to have at least 1,000 subscribers to do that. So that's not everybody, but if you are in that position, you can monetize the YouTube video by adding super chat features where people can pay to highlight their particular thing they want to say in the chat. But what I recommend doing is I use this software called OBS, which is free. Sorry about that. I use a software called OBS, which is free and allows you to manage live video. And so you can use that. You can use that to add graphics to your live video and run it. It's not the most difficult thing to learn how to use. You can actually find tutorials on it on YouTube or anywhere else online. But what it allows you to do is, if you want to add your logo to the video, you can do that. If you also are collecting donations via PayPal, with your PayPal.me page, or you have Cash App, or you have Venmo, you can list all of that information. And so I highly recommend looking into that, because a good amount of musicians that I know are doing that. They're doing these home concerts. And I got a guy that we know personally, who we've worked with, who's literally making $2,000 a week just doing these weekly performances, right? So, it's, if you have the audience and you know how to access the people, and you find creative ways to present it, the tools are there.
And the second question by Susan was, do you have recommendations of good live streaming software that can be used with Facebook Live?
OBS. Yep, OBS is the best. I highly recommend checking out OBS. I had the pleasure, because I'm a member of the DC Grammy chapter, YouTube came to town, and they were doing presentations on a wide variety of the services that they offer. And so they did a presentation on YouTube Live, and the main thing that the person who is the senior person that oversees all things YouTube Live, that's all he talked about. That's all he talked about was OBS. And it's just and it's free. It costs nothing but time to learn it. So you can just look up their website. If you just search OBS, it'll come up, and then you can download it for free. And again, just look up some tutorials. You can find some walkthroughs online, and it'll tell you what to do step by step. And it can work with everything from YouTube. It can work with Facebook Live. It also can work with Instagram Live as well. You do need additional software to make it work on YouTube, but you still ultimately manage that through OBS. But yeah, Yeah, OBS all day. I can't stress
And
it
it
enough.
allows you to adjust your audio levels as well.
Yeah, you can control where the audio is coming from. Like it has like a mini like mixing board thing where you can control your mic levels. You can control computer audio. You can do screen within a screen. If you want to show your browser, just a lot of the same things we're doing on here. This is kind of more streamlined and easier to use. So it takes some time to kind of master OBS, but it is a great tool that I highly recommend.
Okay, and then another question. For organizations that are looking for local followers, can you provide tips to target your social media promotional dollars?
Sure. Yeah. So if you know that you are having a lot of events in a particular city, and I'm sorry if y'all can hear our youngest daughter screaming in the background, playing with her big sister. But anyway, one of the things you can do is if you have a list of all of the cities in your region, when you are setting up a promotion through these sites, you can target those cities. You can target people interested in a particular thing related to your business in those cities. But again, the most important thing that you want to make sure that you're doing is not just promote. Like if you post a flyer and you see that this flyer has been up for a day and it is not getting a lot of traffic, if your last few posts received like 50 likes or 30 likes or 100 likes, but then this flyer that you need to promote your event with, when you posted that in a 12-hour period, it barely broke 10 likes. That is not the thing to promote. Not at all. I definitely recommend that if you're going to and we break this rule sometimes, but one of the best things you can do, there's a feature that allows you in Instagram to post multiple images at once, like the carousel image, where you can just kind of go through multiple photos. So what we typically do is we post a photo that can be related to that flyer or to that event. We post that, and then the flyer is the second image.
Right.
So the photo is the first thing that everyone sees. And then if they want to go in, so this way you don't have to put everything in the caption, right? Say this time, because the language you use in your caption is very important as well. If you have access to Grammarly, because Grammarly will tell you if you sound like a little too business, if you sound a little too harsh, if it's very informative, it'll let you know like that based on what you type in, right? And so maybe you take some time to kind of craft something that is informative, but still kind of, it's not too dry, right? And again, Grammarly is a good tool to help with that. But you want to put together like well thought out captions, stuff that's engaging, that asks questions, and make sure that the original post is really good before you promote it. And then again, you can go ahead and target people by the age group that you are looking for, but knowing your demographic ahead of time, knowing your audience ahead of time is key. So if you know you're trying to reach more folks from the mid-20s to mid-30s, then you target that age group. You target the cities locally that are going to be in the vicinity of these events or of your organization if you have an actual place that they can visit. And that's a great place to start. And if you already have some of your audience following you who are now, like if some of your audience are local and they follow you already, Facebook and Instagram both have like this cheap version of creating a promotion where you can target people based on who follows you already. So that way it kind of takes some of the think work, some of the stress out of it, and you can just test drive that with a small amount of money.
And I can't recommend this enough. Anybody on your team who's on social media,
absolutely,
have them turn on their notifications on, or you inform them that, hey, I'm about to post something, please like it. Yeah. Because the way that this algorithm works, if you post something and within several minutes no one likes it, then it's harder for it to be seen through your network. And so again, everybody on your team, whether it's the band, the orchestra, your executive, everybody from top to bottom.
They should have their notifications
turned on, or at least bare minimum, inform them that you're about to post and they are to like it
within the first 10 minutes.
Right.
Because what happens is whenever you post something, these sites only allow a small amount of your network to see it. And what they're doing is they're pretty much taking it out for a test drive. They show it to your most loyal supporters first. And if those people engage with it, then it becomes available to the rest of your network, right? Then and only then. So if your core following, if the people who interact with your post the most, if they do not like that image within 10 minutes, the rest of your network will not see it. Okay, so it's important to remember. And the only way those other people will know it exists is if they have notifications turned on.
Lisa says, we struggle with getting good photos for our posts. Any good sources for stock images?
Yes. Adobe Spark. Adobe needs to hire us.
I swear.
Adobe Spark Post, right? So if you Spark will allow you to sign up for a free account, but if you're a company that finds yourself having to create graphics on a regular basis, and there are certain programs you need access to, such as Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator, you should absolutely consider investing in the Adobe Creative Suite, because then it will allow you to have a full version of Spark Post. But anyway, even if you don't have the full version of Spark Post, it gives you access to stock photos
and templates.
So so you can design flyers, you can design birthday cards, you can design.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And you can also there's a search feature. So if you're looking for a specific image,
you just type the word
it in. They have icons that you can include. They have social media icons that you can incorporate. You can incorporate your logo. I mean, it's amazing.
And what I'm going to do too is I'm going to show you all another way you can find like great images and use them freely without having to worry about crediting people, and sometimes manipulating them and not having to worry about crediting anyone or worrying about, you'll see. You're right. You'll see. Stop talking so much and just show you. All right. So I'm sharing my screen again. All right. So we'll go to Google. All right. And we're just going to search. We'll search skies, right? Because it's we're looking out the window at a beautiful sky. So we're just going to type sky. And this may be something that folks know. So if I'm preaching to the choir, I apologize, but here we go. Okay. So first things first. What you can do is, you see these things here. People rarely ever click these, all right? But you can click on tools and look at what we have here, all right? So remember I talked before about high quality images. So click on large, right? And then we go to usage rights, okay? So not filtered by license. And then here you have labeled for reuse with modification, right? And so basically you can use this and I click on this, and that means any of these images that are here, I can actually utilize them. I can use them and I can modify them, and I don't have to credit anyone.
Right. So you could add text, adjust the font, adjust the color,
or you can just use it as is.
Or you could just use it as is.
Right. And so, it'll tell you, like, this is something that's available in the Commons, that Wikipedia section. Right, you see Wikipedia come up a few times. Then you'll see something like Pexels comes up, another place where you can find free image. See Flickr come up, great place to find photos or photographers. Goodfreephotos.com. These are all places you can pull this type of stuff from. Now, if I switch it to label for reuse, these are images you can use, but you can't change them. Okay, and then if I switch to non-commercial reuse with modification. In other words, you can use these images, but you can't put it on anything that you're like marketing or selling or promoting, right? And so on and so forth. All right. So yeah, so it's a great, like, again, most people that do not know that. I mean, but like, I've been working with kids, and I've taught kids how to do graphic design and things like that. And this is a tool that I just, I share with them all the time, because when you're 12, 13 years old, you're like, where am I going to get a picture of a bridge from? Right. So this is just a great tool for anyone virtually who needs access to images. All right. So we got more questions.
Yeah, I think we're going to close things off with this last question. This goes back to when we were talking about Facebook, and it asks, so all of our Facebook followers don't necessarily see our posts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Okay. Yes. So that goes back to the algorithm thing.
Right.
Because Facebook is just like everything else, where, at one point in time, it was a free for all where anything you would post would get seen. And then at some point in time, they introduced the algorithm, which started to filter content. And so, people oftentimes will complain that they only see this type of stuff going on, right? And so if you're a person, based on your politics, if you're only looking for things related to one side of things, right? After you've liked a few of those things or shared a few of those things, you're only going to see content in your timeline related to what you support, right? What you support and consistently view. And so that's what the algorithm does. So now, what some people do to beat the algorithm, it's not just by creating quality content. They sometimes will, like, they look at the issue of the day, right? And they figure out, like, based on these trending topics, which of these trending topics is the thing, is connected to the thing that I do, right? That's a tough thing, like, from the marketing side, as people who know this, right? That's a tough thing to know. And when you're trying to be a respectful business that isn't exploiting certain things, right? Because maybe when something bad in the world is happening, it's probably not the time to promote your product, that and using a creative way to tie that to, like, someone's passing, right? Or someone's whatever. But this is, in other cases, when there are certain trending topics, this is part of the strategy that people use to make their thing more visible, as they see what the thing of the day is. Perfect example of what I'm talking about is the classic tweet from Arby's. Hopefully some of you know what I'm talking about, but if you don't, during the Grammys, one year, Pharrell came out with that hat. And you know what hat I'm talking about. It was the really big hat, right? And Arby's tweeted at that time, hey Pharrell, this is Arby's, we want our hat back. And that tweet, because of the time that they did it, at that particular time, the Grammys is all most people were talking about on social media. So of course, because what they were talking about related to what was trending at the moment,
Right.
they used the right hashtag.
Right.
It instantly was available on most people's timeline, and it made them more visible.
And it's relevant because if you know about the Arby's logo,
right, it has the hat. Right. So it was, it was funny, it was timely, it was all of the right things. They used the right hashtag. So that's one way to kind of beat the algorithm.
And it was simple.
Yes, they didn't overthink it. It just worked. And so that's one way. But another thing, again, is if you have a mailing list, just stressing the people, that they need to turn their notifications on. And if you have an audience that doesn't necessarily know how to do that, or you yourself don't know how to do that, it's really as simple as a Google search. Remember what I said earlier, which is you are as smart as the question you think to ask and the research you're willing to do. And so a lot of these questions are as simple as a Google search or a search on YouTube. You saying, you just typing in, how do I turn Facebook notifications on, like on Facebook, right? And when you basically contact your audience next via email, if that's the place where they respond the most, then when you send that email out, you let folks know, hey, we're very active on Facebook, and we're sure that some of you are missing some of the things we're posting. So one of the things you can do to ensure that you don't miss it is make sure that you turn on your notifications. If you are not actively watching YouTube videos, I highly recommend you follow some big YouTubers, because they are excellent at marketing what they do. And some of these folks are teenagers, but they are excellent at educating their consumers, because they start their videos, they have their branding, and they say within the first 2 minutes, because they know most people shut that video off within the first minute or two. Right. They say, hey, if this is your first time to the channel, make sure you turn on notifications, hit that subscribe button, and smash that notification bell, right? Like almost every professional YouTuber that you will find, that's one of the first things that they say. And so on other platforms, not so much, but you absolutely want to make sure you're encouraging your audience, especially if you do get a post and you strike gold and you're getting a lot of activity. Dropping it in the comments saying, hey, while I got your attention, please make sure you turn on notifications so you don't miss future
bare
posts.
minimum, utilizing hashtags, like
Yes.
referencing, you hashtag your name of your individual or organization, hashtag what is pertaining, if it's events, if it's a specific event, like utilizing as many hashtags that's relevant to the post so that it can ensure that it will be seen.
And keep in mind, Creator Studio by Facebook, it's a great tool because if you go to create a post in there, it actually tells you how many hashtags, what's your max number of hashtags, what's the max number of people you can tag. It'll let you know that both for Instagram and Facebook. All right.
Great. And before we close out, Rochelle and Stan, did you want to share the resources part of your presentation?
Thank you so much for the reminder. All right. So I'm going to do that. And also, before that pops up, I just wanted to let you all know that we recently launched our podcast as well. And it's just called Artistry, but it's spelled A-R-T, and then it's lowercase D-U-S-T-R-Y. So it's where art meets industry. And so I'm just going to throw this link in the chat briefly, and I'll bring that slide up. Hold on. And for those of you who were paying attention earlier where I mentioned Smart URL, you're about to see what Smart URL does. All right, so you can check it out, and I'll also put it up on the screen before we go. So hopefully everyone can see that. All right, so I just dropped the link for our podcast that just launched this week. And it's basically, we talk to other creatives and all that good stuff. All right, so back to these slides. Just going to the end so you can see these resources, and keep in mind that you all should have a copy of this as well, so you can go through it at your leisure. All right, so these are just tools and opportunities for musicians. Some of these things are also tools that can be used for other people who aren't necessarily musicians. So these are just different audio hosting platforms here, digital distributors. These are grant opportunities that are available. Performing rights organizations for you collecting, royalties from radio play. And this here is really good for anyone. You don't necessarily have to be a musician. Royalty financing. So if you have a PayPal account and you've been making a lot of money via PayPal, PayPal actually offers loans. They have two different ways to do it. There's the one that you'll be contacted via mail, and then they have one that's completely online. But what they do is they'll, based on your sales, you could get as little as like a few $1,000s for your business. And then what they do, rather than you having to pay back monthly and remembering to pay, they just take a portion of your future sales. And rather than charging you interest, they just give you a flat fee that you pay. And that flat fee goes down or up based on what percentage of your sales you're willing to give up. So those are great tools to use. All right. We'll skip over this stuff because, again, this is mainly on musicians, and I don't think we have a lot of musicians in here.
And then for visual arts, you have...
oh, hold up. Sorry.
Thank you. So for business of art, you have Art Biz Success. These are some other resources for visual artists that you can use. There's freelance services like 99 Design. We had mentioned Fiverr before, which is another, which we use. So if you're an artist that wants to either provide services or product, you can offer it there at Fiverr. If you are an organization or individual who is looking for services, you can also seek out Fiverr. There's another one called Freelancer and Upwork as well. Also, we listed here grant opportunities and advocacy that you should definitely be learn from. YouTube Creator Academy is a great resource.
Excellent. Yeah. It's basically free classes on YouTube. And if you have your doubts, just understand that I'm just under 7,000 subscribers right now for my personal YouTube. And at the time I took the classes, I think I was around 2,000. And so I did that in about a 5-year span. without spending any money to promote my YouTube page, just organically.
Right. Online portfolio websites like Behance, Flickr, Pinterest, Portfolio Box to upload your work so you can share it with the public. Also, sell your art online through either Amazon, Blurb, Castify, eBay, Etsy, Printful, et cetera, et cetera. Spoonflower is another good one if you want to transfer your images onto Fabric. Visual and video editing apps.
Most of these are free.
Exactly. So you have 8-Bit, Photolab, Adobe Spark, which we mentioned, which provides Spark, Photoshop Express, Lightroom, Filmora Go, and PhotoGrid, Pixlr. Again, these are great. You can do them on your phone.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pixlr is very much like it's a free Photoshop pretty much. You can actually use Pixlr in your web browser and it does everything that Photoshop does for the most part.
Absolutely.
All right. But that is
have
general resources. I know
general
we're at
resources are just basically general listing. If you're interested in getting your artwork in through the State Department, there is Art in Embassies program. There's also in the U.S. Department of State Exchange program. So there's opportunities for visual artists as well as performing artists. Of course, you can always go with the public library. The Foundation Center is a great resource. If you are interested in doing business with the government, you will have to obtain what's called a DUNS number, a Duns and Bradstreet number, and that is free to do as well. So these are just general resources to help you out.
And it's just a list of the services that we offer, from everything from audio engineering. Probably we're most known for our consulting, just general consulting, helping creatives and crowdfunding. But we also digital distribution, graphic design, grant writing, fashion design, music business, music production, social media marketing. That's why you're here. And workshops like these.
In general. And for consulting, for those of you that are interested in consulting, what we do is we basically provide you with a custom assessment on what you're doing, what you're currently doing, your strengths, your weaknesses, and we sort of walk you through. So if you're interested in learning more about that, definitely reach out to us via email or through our website.
Absolutely.
Thank you all so very much. I hope this was informative for you. If you have any questions, again, after this, feel free to contact us or the Arts Fairfax as well.
Well, thank you so much, Rochelle and Stan, for your wonderful presentation.
And
thank you to everyone for participating. So we do have an evaluation form that I'm going to add into the chat, and I'll also be sending a follow-up email. We hope you'll take a few minutes to complete this, and we appreciate your feedback. Also, if you are a Fairfax County artist or arts organization, please apply for the ArtsFairfax Emergency Relief and Recovery Grant. The application is now open and more information can be found on our website. And I'm going to just share this really quickly. I would be remiss if I did not talk about our tags. So if you have not connected to ArtsFairfax online, please follow us now. Tag us at our ArtsFairfax, or you can use our hashtag ArtsFairfax, to continue the conversations from the webinar. Thank you again, everyone, for your participation. Bye.
All right.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.